Steve Jobs was born on February 24, 1955, and died at the age of 56 on October 5, 2011. As an infant, Steve was adopted by Clara and Paul Jobs. As a boy, Steve and his father would work on electronics in the family garage. It was with his father that he learned how to reconstruct electronics. Even in his youth, Jobs was an intelligent and innovative thinker. In 1971, Steve Jobs was introduced to Steve Wozniak, an electronics wizard and his future business partner. Both Jobs and Wozniak shared a common interest in electronics. After high school, Jobs attended Reed College in Portland, Oregon. However, after 6 months, he dropped out. By 1974, Jobs took a position as a video game designer with Atari. Several months later, Jobs departed from Atari and embarked on a spiritual journey to India. By 1976, he returned from his trip of spiritual enlightenment, and at the age of 21, he and Wozniak started Apple Computer in the Jobs family garage. Both Wozniak and Jobs revolutionized the world of computers, making them smaller, cheaper, and more accessible to the public. The first edition of the Apple Computer was sold for $666. 3 years later, after the release of the second Apple Computer, the Apple II, the company's sales increased by 700% to $139 million. By 1980, the Apple company had become a publicly traded company with a market value of $1.2 billion. By 1983, Jobs recruited John Sculley from Pepsi-Cola to serve as Apple CEO by asking, "Do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugared water, or do you want a chance to change the world?" With IBM surpassing Apple in sales and rising consumer disappointment, Sculley began to believe that Jobs was bad for Apple, and thus the company's executives began to phase Jobs out. With no official position at his own company, Jobs left Apple in 1985 to begin a new hardware and software enterprise called Next. The following year, 1986, Jobs purchased an animation company for $10 million, which later became known as Pixar Animation. Pixar Studios is credited with producing many popular and timeless animated movies such as Toy Story in 1995, Monsters, Inc. in 2001, Finding Nemo in 2003, and other classics that have impacted our lives today. In 1996, Apple announced that it would buy Next for $427 million. The deal was finalized in February of 1997, allowing Jobs to return to his position as Apple's CEO. Steve Jobs revolutionized the way we live our lives. From the first Apple computer to the iMac to the iPod to the iPhone to the iWatch, Steve Jobs simplified technology, making it accessible to everyday people. Steve Jobs made technology simplistic yet beautiful, changing the way we view technology. Today we use Apple products on a daily basis for school, work, and other daily activities such as listening to music. Many of us have grown so accustomed to Jobs' innovations that it is hard to picture our lives without them. One person who influenced Jobs greatly was Edwin Land. Steve Jobs idolized Edwin Land, who created the Polaroid. Land thought that consumers don't know what they want until they see it, which is something Jobs believed in. Jobs and Land had a lot of things in common, which is another reason why Jobs looked up to him. For one, they both dropped out of college. They were both obsessed with function and form. They both hated market research, and they both built beloved companies that failed and rose back up again.